I'm Ty Hernandez.
And I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. How the church is trying to offer to help in hard times.
If today we can help you, then tomorrow you can pass that on and help someone else.
When it comes to a cleaner environment, does the world have a prayer? She thinks so.
We were created by God to really reverence and take care of the earth.
And he was the salt of the earth, remembering a familiar face and voice.
It's been fantastic, hasn't it?
Good evening. We all know that times are tough, and an economic report out today indicates for many Americans they're getting even tougher. The jobless rate rose to a 25-year high of 9.4%. But some people are finding help through Catholic Charities, which has developed programs to help those who've lost their jobs.
And one of those programs is the Matthew 25 Project, which takes its name from the Gospel of Matthew, 25th chapter, which deals with helping others. Funds are awarded to parishes for workshops, job training, and emergency assistance. And our Natalia Ortiz visited one parish benefiting from the program, St. Mary Help of Christians in Woodside.
Difficult economic times are upon us. And in response, Catholic Charities created the Matthew 25 Project to soften the blow within the Diocese of Brooklyn. The program gave $250,000 to parishes in order to help families in need, and St. Mary's in Woodside has already put their portion of the funds to use.
How's the Matthew 25 Project helping expand or perhaps just sustain the services that you offer here?
The Matthew 25 Project through Catholic Charities was $18,000, and that was given so that we can continue our pantry efforts to make the food go on.
St. Mary's Food Pantry has been around for almost 2 decades, but the need for their assistance has risen dramatically in the last year and a half. That is why the recent Matthew 25 grant is playing such a large role in their mission. This trailer was donated to St. Mary's Food Pantry by the Josephine Foundation. And funds from the Matthew 25 Project allowed for this shelving and a refrigeration system to be installed. The added resources are intended to expand the service St. Mary's offers to struggling families, which according to La Pola increased from 20 to 200 per week. Ramona Santana is a mother of 2 and one of those people who recently began asking for help.
Cada día la cosa se pone más y más precaria. Más para la madre de familia, que tenemos que darle el pan a los niños, porque ellos van a la escuela y cuando vienen, ellos no preguntan, mami, ¿hay comida? Ellos lo que quieren es comer desde que llegan. No preguntan, ¿cómo tú compraste la comida?
But La Pola says not everyone is as pragmatic when it comes to asking for help.
Do you think there are people out there that need the help that won't ask for it, and why?
They are in denial about needing the help. They haven't come to terms with that yet, or they're embarrassed.
Still, the volunteers at St. Mary's Food Pantry strive to make people feel comfortable by being discreet, especially because many of the people are illegal immigrants.
Our families are primarily Hispanic from South America. We have Mexican, we have Peruvian, Ecuadorians, Colombians. We also have a lot of the Asian communities.
According to La Pola, the recent surge in people is due to male day laborers who find themselves unemployed because of the economic crisis.
It's difficult for anyone, and I just imagine that it is harder for the men. I know in some situations it's harder for them to look at you in the eye, you know, and I think the culture is part of that. In the Hispanic culture is more the man is, you know, strong and the provider, and obviously they're having a hard time coming through on that part right now.
And in order for St. Mary's to come through for these men, they've customized a food pantry system to meet the needs of this new demographic.
Our day laborers need food that they can either eat out of the can or out of the package, or needs minimal preparation. They don't have cooking facilities, maybe they just have a microwave, so we need to address that kind of situation.
And by working here, one of the volunteers is getting a customized benefit of her own.
And it's also helping me emotionally stay strong as a dialysis patient.
How does this help you stay strong?
Offering help makes me spiritually strong, so I could continue a decent living. I don't want to just be a helpless, hopeless person in a corner.
And La Pola's purpose for taking this project on is clear.
I do this because it's what we're called to do. As Christians, it's what we're called to do. As humans, it's what we're called to do. It feeds us, it nurtures us, and if you've been there, it's that much more important to give. And it's healing. It's healing. God touches us in amazing ways, and He touches us most when we're reaching out.
In related news, New York State announced today that Catholic Charities has won a bid to develop 100 apartments in Howard Beach. 80 of them will be set aside for seniors, with the remaining 20 for the developmentally disabled. Stay tuned. The rest of today's headlines are just ahead.
Also, meet an expert on climate change you might not expect.
Earth is even more like a mother who takes care of us, and we have a right to take care of the earth.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Ty Hernandez. Here are some of the headlines of the day. New statistics show the number of U.S. Catholics has increased in the last year to more than 68 million, according to the official Catholic directory. Catholics now make up about 22% of the population.
Well, the NBA Finals are not only a battle between the Lakers and the Magic, but the source of a friendly wager between two bishops. Los Angeles Cardinal Roger Mahoney is wagering his Lakers will win, and he's betting a case of wine produced by the Cathedral of Our Lady of Angels. Orlando Bishop Thomas Wensky, meanwhile, is rooting for his team, the Magic. He's wagering 3 key lime pies, 4 pounds of fresh shrimp, and a bottle of oxygen. Why the oxygen? Well, according to Bishop Wensky, because of pollution in Los Angeles.
Bishop Wensky isn't the only one concerned about air quality. The UN has declared today World Environment Day, which aims to raise awareness about a variety of issues from pollution to climate change. One of the many groups partnering with the UN for this is the Carmelite Non-Governmental Organization, or NGO. It's made up of men and women of the Carmelite Order. They educate their counterparts around the world about the environment, and while embracing the science behind climate change, they also encourage a spiritual approach. Yesterday, I had a chance to sit down with Sister Helen Ohario from the Carmelite NGO to talk about this. Sister Helen, I want to thank you very much for joining us and begin by asking about climate change. The science behind global warming is considered irrefutable at this point. Does the Church take a position on climate change? Does it acknowledge climate change?
Yes, especially here in the U.S., the Catholic Bishops' Conference on Justice and Peace put up a coalition on climate change recently to deal with this issue.
Okay, some people may be surprised you're a Carmelite nun, and they may be surprised that you are working with the United Nations on the environment. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Recently, in 2000, we organized ourselves to have a non-government organization with the United Nations. And we decided that we will focus on climate change and to educate our members, do something in terms of making people aware, because this is a problem and also a challenging issue that we can really make our world better.
Does the idea of conservation, the idea of reusing the resources of our planet, in your opinion, have a biblical or religious connection?
Sure, because like in Genesis, when God made the world, before God made human beings, it's the first thing He made was the earth. So the biblical connotation there is we have to reverence the earth first, because we were created by God to really reverence and take care of the earth, not just to use it for our own needs, but we are even, the earth is even more like a mother who takes care of us, and we have a right to take care of the earth, or else we will be all dead if we don't reverence it and we don't take care of it.
Now, in keeping with the United Nations and your work, the Kyoto Protocol is something that is very important. The Kyoto Protocol calls on all nations to reduce their carbon emissions, I think by the year 2010?
Yes, 2010.
How is that going for you in terms of your work? Is it difficult work?
Yeah, we educate our members, and not only Carmelites. We have a coalition of not only Catholics, but so many non-government organizations that have members and reach out to all countries in the world. And we advocate right now. The challenge is to talk to our leaders, especially to our presidents and those who are negotiating the carbon emission, which had started in Kyoto a few years ago. And this coming December in Copenhagen, they have to really commit on this protocol.
How does a faith-based approach to the environment differ from the secular approach? The approach we hear very often, reduce, reuse, recycle. What is the difference in terms of what you do? How is it faith-based?
Well, it's the same because we are all human beings. But the only difference I think that we made recently as Carmelites, and we said everybody is doing the same thing. Probably as Carmelites, because when you hear about Carmelites, it's only prayer. So we put up a prayer, which we hope that everybody will find inspiration through the prayer that we made. Actually, we had started with in December 10, which is the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We put up a first prayer, especially on Zimbabwe. We have many Carmelites in Zimbabwe, and so many got excited about that, and they use it even if they're not Carmelites. So this time, we put up another prayer booklet.
You say the methods are the same in terms of the steps we need to take to save the planet, but in addition, you've introduced the idea of a day of prayer to reflect on the issue of the environment.
Yes.
Well, Sister Helen, thank you
booklet
so much for joining us. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're all out of time. It's been a pleasure to sit with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
For more information on the work of the Carmelite NGO, you can go to www.carmelitengo.org. And just ahead, the final part of our interview with Bishop DiMarzio. He'll talk about the Pope, the President, and vocations.
And we'll pay tribute to a man who helped pave the way for currents.
Last week, we sat down for an extensive interview with Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio. Tonight, he talks about efforts to increase vocations in the diocese.
But first, the bishop shares his thoughts on a topic hotly debated around the country and around the world: abortion. Bishop DiMarzio, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Good to be here with you again.
Life issues have really been sort of at the forefront of things going on. I mean, from President Obama's speech at Notre Dame to, you know, just everyday debates among Catholics across the world. What is the, I guess, receptiveness of the everyday person to the Catholic point of view on life issues?
I think we're seeing a change. The most recent poll on abortion has kind of turned the corner, that more people see abortion as not something that should be allowed, certainly not something preferred, than other people who are for it in an unlimited way. So the message is getting out, maybe not just from the Catholic perspective, but from a Christian and a human perspective, because it's a human issue. It's not a religious issue. Clearly, it's there. There was one cartoon that was in one of the papers, I forget which one it was, about a week ago, which kind of summarized the speech at Notre Dame, Obama saying that we all try to live together and respect one another. And the little cartoon there is a child in the womb said, but I have to live first. have to be alive. And it's kind of what the issue is. Life is the beginning of everything. We're not going to get anything right in this society unless we respect life from beginning to end.
You mentioned President Obama, and he had, for the first time, made news in the issue of abortion, and he said we'd like to focus on our agreements, not our disagreements, and he said that new legislation on abortion is not a priority of his administration. I imagine that doesn't satisfy the church, but tell me your reaction.
Well, again, what we have to agree on is when life begins. Clearly, I think his talk with Rick Warren in the campaign, and when he said, well, it's above his pay grade, well, I mean, that was the thing that I said, above his pay grade. Well, I mean, this is human life. It's not above anybody's ken or pay grade. We've got to protect human life. We can't dispose of human life because that's the basis of our society. And if we keep doing that, there won't be much left of this society. Clearly, that's part of the problem. What can we agree on? Yes, we can agree that there should be less abortions. There should be no abortions necessary. Clearly, but everything that he's doing already is just increasing the possibility of abortions. It's not bringing and not lessening them. And this is a part of the problem. We might not have new legislation, but you have regulations that are being systematically overturned. The overturning of the Mexico City Accord, where money from the State Department or any money going far overseas was restricted to those agencies or people that were not performing abortions. Now that's been eliminated. So we're increasing abortion. We're not eliminating them. So you've got to be clear about the truth about things, and that's the way it is.
Switching gears just a little bit, you have placed a lot of emphasis on vocations and starting a House of Discernment last year named after Pope John Paul II. How has the response been to that?
Well, we've been very happy with the response of the House of Discernment. We have 8 candidates there right now, and some of them moving on to other levels of the discernment. Hopefully, by next year, we'll be able to fill it. We have 10 spots there. Tonight, in fact, I have a holy hour with all of the parish vocation committees of the diocese, where that's one of the things I've emphasized. Vocations are a matter of the Spirit. I can't give anybody a vocation. It's got to come from God. It's the Holy Spirit. We've got to pray. The Lord told us, pray to the Lord of the harvest that we have sufficient laborers for the harvest. There's never enough. And that's Jesus' words himself. It's not mine. And that's what we need to do. So it's so important that we have parish committees that are committees of prayer and also of recruitment. Today, the priests, sisters, the pastors, not as many, they don't see the youth, but people do. People who are running religious ed programs, people who are in the schools, people that are running sports programs, they can see the young people that might have a vocation and direct them in the way, guide them. I know the way it was when I was a child in school. The sister would say, did you ever think about being a priest? Somebody planted that seed in there, and then it grew. But if nobody ever invites, nobody ever says, did you ever think about it? Is it possible? Well, there won't be vocations because we need to be the human instrument in God's hands to call people forth to that. So vocations is critical, especially today, the role of the lay people in calling forth. Families, when you have strong families, you get vocations. If families are weak, it's more difficult. Although today, we have vocations for broken families, people who are divorced. Their children come forth and present themselves for the priesthood and religious life. So,
as we talk about the Church Universal, we couldn't not mention Pope Benedict, of course. And tell us a little bit about the impact you think he's had on the Church.
I think it's a very positive one because he's so thoughtful. His writings are so deep and yet simple enough for everybody to understand. It's not a complicated message he gives. It's a clear message. And being the leader of the church, he's been able to, and his travels already, to influence a lot of different things. He speaks about everything, which is the Pope's responsibility. So I think his leadership has been very good for the church, and we want to hopefully that he can continue to do it.
All right, well, very good. Thank you so much, Bishop DiMarzio, for joining us this week. We appreciate it.
Okay, good to be with you.
Thank you.
Bishop DiMarzio of Brooklyn. Well, when we come back, one of the driving forces behind the Prayer Channel and NET.
We remember Jon Kelley.
He not only cared deeply about each of us, but felt blessed by each of us.
Tonight, we introduce a feature called Salt of the Earth. We'll be highlighting everyday heroes who use their unique talents to help others. And for our first Salt of the Earth, we focus on someone known to many here at NET and to viewers of the Prayer Channel, Jon Kelley.
With his British accent, Jon was probably not someone you'd expect to see on TV in Brooklyn, but there he was every week as the longtime co-host of Tablet Week in Review. And his contribution to the channel was much more than that. He served the station as program manager and production director and hosted our annual telethon. He touched many lives here and throughout Brooklyn and Queens, so as Currents completes its first week on the air, we salute one of our own as Salt of the Earth.
Hello, and welcome to the first day of the first telethon of the Prayer Channel.
Jon Kelley was a unique individual, a man of very deep faith, acute intelligence, and a wonderful accent.
Well, I know at least one daily who'll be going. How about you? And that's the news.
Very strong in his convictions, very able to express his convictions in polished English. Let me put it that way.
He had a very wonderful sense of humor, and he put a smile on everybody's face. Just remember all of the laughs we always had with Jon over the years. It was just fun.
If you think about what a Christian should be, that was Jon. He was not a pushover, but Jon definitely cared for people.
Listen, thank you very much.
He wasn't a person who had two faces. He usually told you how he felt about you, whether it was positive or negative.
It's been fantastic, hasn't it?
He'd always give you genuine encouragement. He'd challenge you. It wasn't like it was easy. It wasn't just a pat on the back. It was a pat on the back and a kick in the pants with Jon, and that was kind of great. It's what I needed.
Some people describe Jon as a Renaissance man, and I think that is perfect for him.
He did things with his own hands, and he put sets together by himself.
He had great insight into, I think, the media and the culture in which we live.
One of the major contributions he made to us was the idea that when you do something on television, it should be quality production. He used the word proper in an intriguing, sometimes an annoying way.
He knew that media had transformed the world, and he knew the church had to catch up.
He had a tremendous influence, I think, and he helped a lot of the people working for the channel to mature.
Jon was probably the single most important factor in my faith over the years. He was very much like a father figure to me in that way.
He was really my mentor.
He not only cared deeply about each of us, but felt blessed by each of us.
You grow to love a guy who believes in what he says and does what he says and does what he believes in, and that was Jon.
I asked him, I said, Jon, they gave you an expiration date? And he said, yeah.
He asked me to celebrate his funeral mass. Of course, I agreed. And then I said, well, Jon, this will be the first time in our relationship that I will say something and you won't have the opportunity of saying anything back. And he says, don't be so sure.
It was so inspiring to see how strong he was in the process of dying.
He was able to do it the way he wanted to do it, and most of us may not even have that luxury. He did it with the kind of style and grace in which he wanted to do it.
If he was here right now, I'd just tell him that I miss him.
We talk about heaven every now and then. And one of the things he would say is that he was certain of going to heaven.
He gave them such good example. I mean, that was part of what he did. It was a tremendous influence on the Prayer Channel. I think it prepared us for the net.
In a very profound way, Jon did shape NET because he helped shape me and he helped shape so many of us.
Jon's thing was always to be professional. Just because we have a message to give out doesn't mean that people aren't expecting the best of us.
He challenged us, if you're going to do it right. And I think we're starting to do it right.
Jon truly was a trailblazer here at NET. As the host of the program Tablet Week in Review, he paved the way for Currents.
And that is one of the few times you'll get to see some of the people behind the scenes here at Currents on the air, so we hope you enjoyed that. Also, coming up Monday, the Pope honors 41 laymen and women of the diocese, and we're going to have complete coverage.
As we conclude our first week, we'd like to know what you think. You can email us at dropusaline@currentsny.net.
Thanks for joining us. Remember, we are always online at www.netny.net. I'm Ty Hernandez.
And I'm Matt McClure. Have a great weekend.